Hey, this is Al from Transformational Gaming. Appreciate you coming by. Appreciate you coming to the channel. Today, I'm going to give my thoughts on pro consoles. Now, I was told that I should not ask you guys to like and subscribe anymore. So I've decided to go ahead and take on that mantra and that etiquette and not do that. But I will leave the animation up, and I will ask you guys to come back to the channel if you do like the content. Going forward, today I want to talk about my thoughts on the pro consoles. And I want to preface all that by saying, look, I don't really have like a lot of time to do a lot of social media. I am actually going to go out of town Tuesday. And so that's just an example of the kind of time that I have. I just don't have a lot of time. I went out of town this weekend. I'm going out of town again. And so I'm constantly on the road trying to get things done. That being said, I just don't have a lot of time to do a lot of social media. But I do like what I do as far as having you guys come to this channel and explain to you guys all of the jargon and all of the BS. Like, this part of the video gaming part of this social media stuff is really like annoying, because I haven't even looked on Twitter. I know that Twitter's going to be full with a bunch of fanboy stuff, a bunch of inaccurate acronyms and words that are on Digital Foundry, and they're going to be taken right out of context, and they're going to be used to go up against Xbox or whatever, And this is the part of the game that always saddens me and that I don't like to do. Like, I don't really enjoy making videos about Phil Spencer. I do this out of a sense of duty, because as a developer, I have a certain perspective on what guys are going to make software for these consoles. Now, my point is that there's a lot of things that go out that is just totally inaccurate. And this is one of the instances, let's just say, of what inaccuracy is. And so as we get into it, I just kind of want you guys to have that perspective going on in the back of your head as I explain or attempt to explain. It may take more than one video to explain these things that's going on in the industry, because having a pro console is never a bad thing as long as you're able to have it built upon the same things that the last consoles was built off of. And it seemed like the starting point for all intents and purposes is the PS4, right? The PS4 is actually the first x86 architecture or whatever, right, that Sony could build upon. So can Microsoft with the Xbox One. It's the closest to PC that gaming has ever been. As long as that is consistent amongst the consoles, they can have those games be backwards compatible, forward compatible. They're all kind of built on the same architecture that allows them to access those shaders and stuff. Of course, they have to go in and make different changes because they can't just go in raw. But the point I'm trying to say is that you have the basic building blocks to build backwards compatibility. All that stuff started with the PS4 generation, and I think moving forward they're going to do it. Eventually they're going to knock the building down and start over again. They're going to start with a brand new foundation, and they're going to have a new way of delivering and rasterizing graphics. But for the most part, everything has been the same, and that's why we have this pro and this next generation stuff that's backwards compatible and all this other stuff. See, because back in the day, especially with the PS2 and the PS1, you actually had to have a little PS2 inside of the console. Now you don't have to do that no more, because basically all the games work the same. So getting into now the PS4 Pro consoles, what's my opinion on it? My opinion on it, it doesn't matter. If they come out with a PS5 Pro or they come out with a PS6 right now today, as long as they have the manufacturing to do it, I think that they're going to do it, especially if they think it's going to make them more money. Now, why would they want to do that? Why would anybody else want to do anything, right? Because it's much easier to develop stuff like ray tracing and this Unreal Engine 5 stuff. Is really easy to make. They got the tools where they can just go in, and it doesn't take a lot to build nanite and these other granularities in graphics now because of these new tools. The problem is that PC's able to do it, but the consoles are not able to do it. Why? Because the consoles are not powerful enough. They're not powerful enough to deliver what is needed to get the graphics out, process the graphics, and then bring them to the screen. Those components have to be more efficient. So they have the incentive to definitely build new consoles because that helps developers make more detailed games a lot more easier. Because I just made a video talking about the development process being much more difficult. If they're able to have consoles that's powerful enough to push this nanite stuff and this ray tracing stuff, they're looking at their finances. They're able to cut down on development time a lot more than versus what they're doing now using traditional rasterization. So yes, they have the motivation to ask these companies, hey, look, why don't you come out with a pro console that can help out on this techniques and all of these other new graphics tools that are coming out like Unreal Engine? Because the fact of the matter is, building these type of components and building these type of software cuts down on development time a lot more. And so yeah, you're going to hear rumors about the new PlayStation 5 that's coming out, or the new PlayStation 5 Pro, the Xbox Pro, or whatever they want to call it, because those consoles are not powerful enough to run these tools. And that's what they're working on. That's why I'm telling you Starfield is not coming out, because they were supposed to be using nanite. Epic and the Coalition are struggling. They're struggling to build these nanite and this lighting and ray tracing and all this other stuff. That way is getting old. They don't want to do no reconstruction and stuff like that. They want to use this FSR. They want to use DLSS. They don't want to use no reconstruction because that takes up too much memory and doesn't give you enough processing power. So that's why you're hearing about the PS4 Pro. To be honest with you, I like Rich, you like Rich, everybody likes Rich, but sometimes Rich don't know what he's talking about because he's looking at it from a consumer side, and which that's cool, but there's always two sides to it. These are the four cases that he think that he has against not making pro consoles. And I just want to go in and talk about these because there needs to be discussion about these, because people are on Twitter are going to run with these and just make all type of memes and have all type of console wars and all type of trolling and stuff. And I just want to kind of get in front of this before all this stuff happens. I do want to talk about it because I do want to have some type of adult in the room to really give you the case on why it's probably going to happen that they're going to come out with some type of enhanced consoles. All right, it says it's been almost 2 years and next gen has yet to happen. We're still deep in cross transition. This is the point I was telling you guys about the PS5 being really a PlayStation Pro. Okay, it's like another iteration in the PS4 Pro. These consoles, although they do have the ability to run some software ray tracing, and they say that there's some hardware elements, I can tell you that these consoles struggle to do so on a prolific level, and that's the problem. These consoles are not powerful enough. I do think it is difficult to yield the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. I think they have a better perspective on getting better yields out of the new techniques of however they're going to probably try and get these units out as far as them being pro units and stuff like that. I think they're going to either figure it out or they already have figured it out. But I really think that they figured out a way to get better yields out of these processes so that now we're able to step in really into the next generation. But look, to be honest with you, in order to have ray tracing and all the stuff that they're going to really need for a next bump up in generation, I think you're going to have something between the 2080 and the 3080, somewhere in between there. And I'm talking about NVIDIA, right? So on an NVIDIA level, you're going to need something between 20 and 30 series. You're going to need something that's going to have some type of deep learning to be able to produce these ray traced and this nanite and all this other stuff. And these consoles just don't have that. And I remember talking to someone that does YouTube and stuff like that, that's pretty big on YouTube as far as video gaming, and he was telling me, he was like, look, developers are asking for more memory. Developers wanted, 32 gigs, and they only got 16 gigs. So let's get into number 2 real quick. And number 2, surrounding technologies requiring an upgrade are absent. 8K displays have yet to gain any real momentum. Again, I kind of talked about the requirements for surrounding technologies. To me, I don't think 8K is ever really going to be a thing. I think the yields on 8K is always going to be expensive because it's very difficult to make, from what I'm understanding. And I mean, I don't even think the 40 series is able to display 8K at 60 frames per second. So developers, I think they're in more so into the rasterization end of it. I don't think they're even thinking about 8K. They are struggling. That's why I'm telling you, I don't think Starfield's coming out, and I don't think Senua's Sacrifice, Hellblade 2, I don't think that's coming out either. You notice you haven't heard about them because they was trying to use that nanite stuff. They're struggling, and that's why you're hearing about PS5 Pro, the Xbox Pro. You're hearing that because they're struggling with the nanite and the new rasterization and the ray tracing. So number 3, cost per transistor. Again, the problem is yields. All right, that's why the Xbox Series S exists, because they knew they weren't able to build the proper yields needed for the Series X. So they made the Series S as a fallback, so when something goes wrong with one of those transistors, they're able to build a Series S and plug in the rest of them and just put a block on them to make it a Series S. Was that a good plan? No. But that's what Microsoft went with. So be it here or nor there. But I think with these next generation consoles, I do think they're going to be able to have higher yields, and I do think they figured out a way to get higher yields. Number 4, current economic situations look dire. Look, let me tell you something about economic situations. All right, I was brought up in the 80s where Republicans didn't give a damn. I mean, you think they don't give a damn now? They really didn't give a damn back in the 80s. And things got better. That's what they're counting on. Things get better. Cultures change. Administrations change. Everything changes. Things get better. And I don't think thinking about the crises that's going on in the world is a forward way of looking at stuff. You got to think about the future, because the future is why we're here. And the real issue is that these days are not going to be last forever. And trust me, the marketing team and the finance team, they know this. Trust me, we've talked about it. We've talked about it at my job. Okay. So, no, these days are not going to last forever. The genesis of all of this is really the war and the pandemic, and both are not going to last forever. Even with the Vietnam, it was here for a long time. The Cold War, it was here for like 30 years. But the real issue is that they found the way to have higher yields. They don't care about number 4 at all. So that's probably it. I probably need to make another video about this. So But comment in the comment section. Hey, let's have some thoughtful comments. I know some of the gameplay video is for 5 hours, 3. I try to cut them down to 3 hours. I also have some video that I want to put up that's kind of like little snippets or whatever. So I know I do get that, hey, you may not have the most thoughtful comments, but let's get in some thoughtful comments here, because I really want to know y'all opinion on the enhanced consoles. And appreciate you coming by. Hope you come back. This is Al from Transformational Gaming, and may the truth set you free. Later.